Thank you for coming, Arif.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'm delighted to have you as a guest, the first guest.
I hope not the only.
So, welcome to the first episode of an improvised podcast created inside in an exhibition space called Mayer Pavilion. And during this pandemic, we decided to improvise a podcast and give the people a possibility to know about our project. Mayer Pavilion. First of all, I want to introduce what is the space where we are interacting right now. What is this? It's a house, it's a studio, it's a VBS, it's a social house. It's all of them. And Mayer Pavilion is mainly a space that I create for art and active discourse, located in a social studio in Berlin. And we produce, host and collaborate on a range of formats such exhibition, performances, screening, residences, and now also podcast.
Nice, like
The purpose of this space is mainly to create active discourse and engage also our neighbor. And today we have a special guest, a friend of mine named Arif. He told me about discrimination agency, he told me about discrimination law. I present myself, I'm Andrea Mineo, and I've been living in Berlin for more than 3 years. I work as an artist and I mainly do documentary film, sculpture and exhibition project. In my work, what I like the most is the context of social interaction, as it is where I think we experience the most friction. Therefore, in my view, this is the starting point of any change. So, and this is why we are here today to record this podcast. We are in the middle of a lockdown and an economic crisis, watching the fail of our system that were supposed to protect us. Now, never before have we felt the need to take full responsibility for our actions. I have a little story to tell.
Go for it.
Yeah, about how did I find this like apartment studio.
The flat, yeah.
In 2019, in November 2019, I was living in my ex-girlfriend, a German ex-girlfriend.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, you remember. And nothing, I had like little income. I was working with a gallery.
Yeah, from day to day, man, I get it. Paycheck to paycheck,
and, so I decided to apply for a VBS, which is a equivalent of social house.
Yeah.
And I wanted also a studio. So because I'm an artist, I do sculpture, and the sculpture were getting bigger and bigger. So I mean, it wasn't a problem for my girlfriend, but it was a problem for me because I wanted to
expand,
store it.
You need space.
I need space. Yeah. So I applied for 2-room VBS throughout BBK, and nothing. I received confirmation for 2-room VBS apartment in January 2020. Since then, I start to search for a flat. Yeah. And I already knew that it was difficult. I already knew the gentrification, all stuff. It was very like kind of a job to look for a house.
I get it. Especially this area, everyone wants to live here.
Especially in Kreuzberg, no? Yeah. But I was open for accepting every condition, like also like whatever, Köpenick or Marzahn. Even though I was like, oh, Marzahn, I don't want to live like
no Marzahn,
2 hours away from. Yeah. But also then it was difficult. And I told you, Arif, it's so hard. I mean, it's already like 5 months. I got just nothing, just like no view for apartments. I was apply for like every day, almost like 3 hours per day, and also I had my phone like notification every like hour notification. So I opened the email, respond.
Constant
so there was
stress.
A constant stress, constant. And after 6 months, I received my first visit, my first
This was Weissensee, yeah?
Yeah, in Weissensee. And so I went with a friend of mine to Weissensee. It was a nice apartment, and the lady that welcomed us just said, the only reason why you're here is because I choose 10 candidates foreign.
Which is also discrimination.
She wanted to give the possibility for foreign people to apply for this house where she was living, and she was supposed to live. So I said, why did you choose 10 candidate foreign? I mean, it's why? I mean, and she said to me that the company that owned this building, I know they discriminating. They select a candidate by racial ethnicity and
name,
blah, blah, blah.
German names maybe.
And I said, why? We are in Berlin, 6 people to 10 are German. I don't want to mistaken, but and so I wasn't truly believing her till she brought me to the interphone and showed me the name of, and the interphone was all German, 30 names all German. So nothing. I come back home. I apply for the with all my documents, and after 22 days of waiting,
which is nearly a fucking month. It's ridiculous. 22 days.
1 month. Usually, they respond 2 weeks maximum. And was negative. I didn't get a flat. I didn't get anything. So
ridiculous.
It was quite frustrating for me. So, and then I spoke with you, and you told me about discrimination law. I looked it up on the website, and I found out there is a discrimination agency working here in Berlin. I come back home and I check in eBay Kleinanzeigen.
Yeah.
And then pop out a strange ad, which was saying that only applicants with German ID can apply.
I remember you showing me that one. Yeah,
and I show you also. And then I did a screenshot. I sent to the discrimination agency, which you advised me to do. And then the discrimination agency called me back and told me, look, we are sorry if you're facing this problem. Come next week for a meeting. We discussed about eventually support you in a legal process. And then I went there. We discussed. And now currently there is a case which they are working.
Which is good, nice.
About eBay, but it's quite hard because eBay has a lot of
protective measurement.
But also in best case scenario in which I win the process in court. The discrimination agency cannot even in that case provide me a house.
No, but
it's not their job,
But at least it's if that person gets taken in front of court, faces consequences, he won't do it again. Absolutely. And it's a sign for other people to not do it.
It can be a public case. Yeah. It can be by the way, I was into this. I wanted to fight until I got the flat.
Yeah, I get it.
But how did I get the flat? I came back home after the meeting with discrimination agency, and I wanted to do a test. I wanted to do a test to check if really my nationality can be influenced. So I changed my name from Andrea Mineo to Andreas Mayer.
Yeah.
In all searching houses platform, and nothing. With my surprise, after 1 week, I received 5 invitations,
which is ridiculous.
Against one in 6 months.
Yeah, but in 5 days, 6 you said?
Yeah, in 1 week, 5 invitations.
Which is ridiculous if you compare it to your old name, where you only got 1 fucking introduction in months.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah. Nothing. I went there to see the house under the name Andreas Mayer.
Yeah.
I present myself, Andreas Mayer, but I didn't apply for the first 4 apartments because my documents are under the name Andrea Mineo, it's not Andreas Mayer.
But you only use that name to get a viewing.
To get the viewing, yes. At the end, I said to myself, okay, what can happen? I mean, I applied as Andreas Mayer. I saw the house. I liked the house, which was this flat.
This one, yeah?
Yeah, and I said to myself, okay, I will send my real document. If they ask something, I will just say, is my artistic name or is my like pseudonym. I don't know, like a fake name because I'm an artist and I'm a strange artist.
No, I get it.
I sent my document and they select me and eventually became my actual studio where we are now recording this podcast. I was happy, of course. I didn't like questioning the process, but I know for sure that the first selection was under Andreas Mayer.
It's ridiculous in my opinion. Like, but it's also a good hack. So if you know anyone else who's looking for a flat, like I definitely know now if I have to look for a flat in Berlin, I'm going to apply as Hans Rudolf Schmidt. And,
or like Thomas Müller. There's
something like that.
I have like a Korean friend that now he wants to change his name from Gino Kwon to Thomas Müller.
He would suit him though.
And he is very well, Thomas Müller, you know. With his,
is he still looking for a flat?
No, he's found it, just found it. I was very happy and I decided to keep my project because I was doing a documentary project about how to find a house in Berlin, what is like a VBS, how does VBS works?
How the whole system works.
How the system works. And then it became like a documentary about discrimination.
Fair enough.
Because I had so many information about...
experiences, stories as well.
Also because I kept my experiment of Andreas Mayer for 1 month and I was applying as Andrea Mineo and Andreas Mayer at the same time and see the difference of reply, you know?
You caught him red-handed, I think.
So I did this, and I thought there was a good idea to open my studio apartment for a project space and inviting artists for an exhibition. Is an exhibition about foreign artists that have somehow impact on this topic, and I wanted to call this studio, this project space, Mayer Pavilion.
Which I like. It's a good touch. Again, the name's got a story. Like it's based on an experience that you share that created this space that made you want to invite artists who might have experienced the same as you. So I like the name.
Mayer Pavilion is a symbol for me.
It's the most German thing ever. Mayer Pavilion. It just sounds like a place where you go to eat a schnitzel.
But Pavilion is a French.
But it just sounds like something like a German restaurant, you know, at the Maybach Ufer, you know, like a...
Okay, it can sound like it. But Mayer for me is a symbol of overcoming social obstacle with the use of creativity and, you know, inventiveness and like new ideas and also humor, you know, because it's kind of a funny. My story is kind of a funny. And doing this project, then the reality kicks in. And the lockdown came, and even though all the exhibition is already, you know, the work is told for being seen by people. But the lockdown will not allow us to open this.
Slow it down, But it's not bread. It's not gonna go bad. It's not gonna shimble.
So we decided to invite artists to speak about their experiences.
Being a foreigner in Berlin, which is. And as you said, 60% of people.
60% of people.
And apparently a quarter of people in Germany
I'm not sure, but I mean, if you just walk on the street.
Definitely, in Berlin, definitely. But I definitely know for a fact that about a quarter of Germans, they have some type of migrational background that their ancestors weren't born in Germany.
Absolutely.
Which would also mean that at any house, there should be, from 4 flats, there should be 1 name that's not German.
Sure.
Statistically, Like if a quarter of the people living in Germany aren't German, then you shouldn't see a number, you shouldn't see a bell where it's just German names, and especially 30 German names.
It's crazy.
It's a pattern, man, and it can be left, you know, because we come here, we learn the language. I've tried to learn German. A lot of people come here from other countries. They take on the values. They pay their taxes. They have just as much right for a flat or being treated as a person who is a German. Shouldn't be an issue.
And that's also why I invite you. Your origin in Pakistan?
My family comes from Pakistan.
Half Pakistan, half German.
I was born in Hamburg, but both my parents came from Pakistan.
So you have a lot to tell us.
Yeah, definitely. I had the same situation with my flat. My first flat that I got, was in Hamburg, and I remember I applied at a housing association called Altona Spar- und Bauverein, where my father was also he was a Mitglied, he was also a member. Yeah. And I had another friend who was a member as well, and he applied for a flat, and he got a flat in a month. I applied for a flat. It took 4 months until they sent me the first invitation for a viewing. I replied. I was the only person to go view the flat, because same as you, I went to the woman, she said, hey, you're the only guy to come visit the flat. And there was a deadline for application, and I was the only person to apply for the deadline. After the deadline expired, they sent me an email saying, hey, we want to give another person a chance to look at the flat. And I was like, huh? But that makes no sense. You set a deadline, I was the only person before the deadline. Like, how can you suddenly push on a deadline that's, like, it's a deadline, you know? Like, it's a date, done. Like, no, I won't accept this. And then they said, all right, we'll call you in a week. I don't know, before that happened, I called them back and I said, hey, listen, I feel like this is ridiculous. Just because my name isn't Schmidt, why am I not getting this flat? Like there was a deadline, I applied, all the paperwork was good, I did everything in time, and next day I got the flat. Just by threatening, just by announcing that I experienced, or that I feel like I'm being discriminated against, they realized, yeah, he's right. Like, we're being dicks. And then I got the flat. Cool. And then same situation with my father once. He got ill and he had to be in a wheelchair, and he had to move from a top-story flat to a low-story flat. They did the same thing. There were other families moving into the ground floor flat that we saw move in out of our window, and we had to call him up and say, listen, like, this guy is disabled upstairs, and you're giving an empty flat to a German family. Bam! Next month, we got a new flat. Ground floor, wow. Same street, which is, like, clearly it's an issue that I don't think a lot of people have the bravery to fight against, or announce, or say, hey, listen, I feel like I'm being discriminated against. So I think the more people that do what you did, or that mention the fact that they feel it, they know it's there, and especially with this law, this discrimination law, I think a change is coming, because people are finally getting pulled in front of court. They're finally facing the consequences, you know. It's a crime now. It's a crime to not give you a flat because your name's not a German-based, or you're not white, or you're gay, or you're disabled. It's a crime, which is right. We're all the same, you know. We all pay taxes. We all...
If you look it up, for example, in the website of a discrimination agency here in Berlin, you now find like a text saying that the number of discrimination cases is increasing exponentially because of there's no because, but I suppose the lockdown, and there's more friction in the social like
tense.
ground.
There's a lot of tension.
There's a lot of tension, and also I want to say there's a friend of mine, which probably we will invite in this podcast, but he's from Korea, and he told me, Andrea, I experienced yesterday. I was in a subway going up, and a guy told me like Corona, to him.
Man.
It's like okay,
ridiculous, you know,
it's
like
ridiculous. And so, but this shows also that there's this discrimination problem. But now with the situation which we are facing now, with the lockdown and all restriction, and people that they're losing their job, the businesses that are crashing totally. So there's more friction, there's more tension, there's more fear, there's more less tolerance.
Yes, if you're not able to pay your bills, I think that's the first thing that goes, where you're like, oh fuck it, I don't care about other people anymore, because I'm at risk now. I have an issue. I can't pay my rent. If you have a restaurant, some of these rents on these main roads are like 4,000 or 5,000 euros a month. How many restaurant owners have like 25,000 euros to survive a 3-4 month lockdown? It's
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But what about, you once told me about your experience? You got hit.
Yeah, I was.
Back of your head.
But I don't know if it was race motivated. I was on the Weserstraße in Neukölln, and I was out with a friend, and someone came up and they just hit me on the back of the head. Like no warning, no altercation. I tend to stay away from violence, or I don't try to provoke other people when it's getting violent, or if someone's trying to have an argument with me, I always try to step back. But anyway, I got hit over the head. But what also the case was, I was wearing a kippah, a sort of like a hat that Jewish people might wear, which a friend of mine gave to me as a gift. And I didn't think anything about it, like it was just a hat for me, you know, but apparently, or it could be that someone hit me over the head because it was a racially motivated attack.
Probably, yeah.
And it could also be because this area is very renowned for having a lot of people who moved over from Arabia. Who are not very,
which area?
Neukölln.
Neukölln, okay.
So there are a lot of people who come from Arabia who are not very tolerant towards Jews, or it could be a Nazi as well. At first, when this idea got suggested to me that it could be race motivated, I thought, nah, like we're in Germany, it's 2020, like nah, it can't be race motivated. But then I did some research, and it's happening a lot in Berlin. Like a lot of Jews who wear kippahs, they get spit on the street. Oh, violent attack happens. There are quite a few Nazis in Berlin as well that also would tend to get violent or have been known to attack people on the streets. Which was new to me because it's the first time that I've experienced violence on the street, and it was quite a severe attack as well because I fractured my skull, I had brain damage, it took me like a year to recover from it, and this was unprovoked. Like there was no, you foreigner or you Pakistani, or it was just that bam at the back. So for me this was like a new territory because in Germany, I have not really experienced this type of discrimination, or as you would call it, racism. Sure, I might have experienced some discrimination where someone says, "Oh, wow, you speak German," or
of course you speak German.
Yeah. Well, you're from Pakistan. That's so interesting. Like, but never at this type of discrimination or this type of violent racism. It hasn't changed my viewpoint of Berlin. Like, I still love Berlin. I still feel very safe here. But it was a big surprise to me that happened because you don't see it every day, you know, like this type of things. You hear about it, but to have it experienced in a street where I still walk down, like I still go to Weserstraße, I live near there. Yeah, it's weird. Like I didn't expect that to happen to me, but if it's race related, I don't know. Maybe someone just didn't like the back of my head.
Sure. But how long have you been like in the hospital, you know, to recover? And
I was 2 days in intensive care, and then I spent about 2 weeks, and then maybe under 2 weeks. I don't really remember, but I think it was like at least 12 days I was in hospital. They had like these all these things on my head, and they did like this test. And I was looking at the woman who did the test, and she looks at me and she was like, and I could tell, it's broken. And apparently there were like some neurons that weren't really firing in my head, which the moment I got out of the hospital, it was fine. But then when I moved back to Pakistan and I was with my family again, that's where I started noticing the issues. Like I was very unstable. I used to get very violent. I would just break down crying for no reason. I even got like borderline suicidal for a bit, but I managed to overcome it. So I don't think it was like a real issue. Like I didn't actually do anything to myself, but it did have a massive impact on my life. Like I wasn't able to run my business properly. I wasn't able to make any decisions. I wasn't able to talk to people around me, my family. I couldn't. I wasn't myself. So I'd have to say definitely that event impacted my life for at least a year and a half. But now I'm back to normal.
So long.
Still got the scar.
Let me see the scar.
The chicks love it. There's one, and
crazy.
Yeah.
Man, this is like it's like make me feel like not really secure.
I can imagine.
And then I think also, I mean, you know, we have to think about, we have to be responsible of everything. Mostly think everything that happened to us is our responsibility, but in this case it's very hard to find the responsibility in this act, you know?
Yeah. Because it's so random, you know? Like,
so random, And I mean, what is the good part of this, you know? Because we have to find it.
You can, like, I suppose it's, the good part is I'm not defeated. I won't give up. I'll still go to Weserstraße. I'll still wear the kippah. I still got it. I still wear it. So I suppose the good part is that the person that did that, they didn't break my spirit. Like I'm still I'm still happy. I'm still loving life. I still go to Weserstraße. I still love that area. I love the restaurants there. I love going to there's a little cinema, Wolf. I love going there. Like that. The good part would be that that act of violence didn't influence my life in a prolonged aspect. Like sure, it was an inconvenience and it took some time to recover, but it hasn't made me scared to go on the street. It hasn't made me fearful of racism. Like obviously racism, I don't want it to exist, and I would love to live in a world where everyone sort of accepts each other in a way where we don't have the need to hit people on the head from the back with a hammer. But I refuse to give that value. Like it was a person, probably a bit more messed up than we can imagine. But the good part is I'm not broken. Back to normal and still happy, still loving life. What more can you have, you know? Like.
What effect had your relations, like your family? Did you like succeed on rebuild the relations that were like influenced by this?
It definitely took some time. Like there was a painter in Pakistan who stole some paint from me. I grabbed him and I nearly threw him off a roof. Ooh. Like because I just wasn't myself. Or one of my nephews, he was being disrespectful to me. And I grabbed him by the neck. Like, I've known this kid since I've been a boy, you know, like he's grown up in my hands. And I grabbed him by the neck and I held him up against the wall. Like, it's stuff like this he's not going to forget. The painter's not going to forget this because I did those things. And I'm not proud of him. It actually hurts me talking about this right now. But, I've talked to my little nephew. He's cool with me now, but it's still weird, you know. He's a little guy, and I just fucking held him up against the wall, and just because he wasn't listening to me, which is so stuff like this does have it does break trust. Like I could see it in his eyes that he was affected by it, as was I afterwards. But hopefully he can forgive me just as I forgave the person that hurt me, you know. So. Being able, like I'm a very empathetic person, so I'm very capable of realizing what other people's needs are, especially like my family in Pakistan, my mother as well. It wasn't possible. So it did hinder a further development. So it was like a wasted year. Like I'd say it was like on pause. I didn't get closer to anyone. I only distanced myself more. And I hid it very well. So I don't think the people that were in my surrounding me, they didn't notice because I just went quiet or I just stopped meeting people, and then, you know, like sort of like just step by step you go away, and people don't really notice. Like you just a little step at a time, and then suddenly you're in your little hole, and that's where you are, and no one really notices because it's a gradual process, you know. It's not like.
But somehow this, what happened to you, it helps you also to understand more your like dark side.
You mean the violence?
Yeah, the fact that you were so like aggressive in a certain situation that you couldn't like hold the completely like your anger.
Yeah.
So
I think that's like I have an inner beast in me that does explode, but I've been very capable of maintaining it, because you can't get aggressive to people. It's not the way to go. Like and I've always been very good at containing it. And I do believe, like, you even see children, they love hitting each other. You know, like when a child gets angry, like I think it's a natural response.
Absolutely.
But I also believe, like, we don't live in a world where that's an accepted response, and it's good, because there are people that are weaker. There are people that you just shouldn't hit people. We don't live in that world anymore. It's definitely. It was opening for me to see that I still have that in me, because I've had it contained for so long. Like I didn't really have any of these outbreaks. I used to get into a few fights when I was like a teenager or like pubescent, but apart from that, I haven't been violent to anyone who was weaker than me. And that affected me a bit, that I was attacking people that had no chance to fight back. And it scared me a bit, which also might have helped my recovery, like the recognition of the fact that I shouldn't have done that, which was important. Because it could have also gone the other way, that I did those acts of violence and I just didn't notice it. Like it just, like it came in here and it went out there. And I'm happy that wasn't the case.
Well, yes. So we found it, the positive fact of this happening.
Not giving up, I'd say. It's just
not giving up. Also understanding more yourself. Understanding like the dark side that most of the time are like very hidden. You know.
Not being ashamed of yourself. You know, like
not being ashamed.
We all fuck up. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I want to talk also about the reason why we are basically like. Discriminate people. There's a like a fact. There is like a psychology in it. Somehow we are like drawn by the fact that we tend to discriminate people, like on the daily basic, and a different level of, or you know, different level of discrimination. But we tend to categorize people. We tend to like stereotype culture and. I don't know. Do you think has any reason why do we do that? Why do we discriminate?
It's a protective measurement because, like, let's say if we were out in the wild and we were still living like a, sort of a hunter-gatherer type of lifestyle where we have predators and other dangers, your brain's response to recognize a danger or something that might hurt you, it's an important thing to survive. And I think in our culture today, especially where we live in such a big city, we have to make these shortcuts. We have to make these split decisions of people. Is he a danger? Is she a danger? Can that person harm me? Sure. We make these immediate little connections in our brains. That person, all right, he's drunk, he's homeless, he might be aggressive towards me, I might walk around him. So these immediate connections, they're based to protect us. But then also, they're also, I think, integrated into our social perception of situations where, all right, like one time I had a Greek tenant in one of my flats in Hamburg. He didn't pay rent for 3 months. Now I don't want to hire a Greek guy to live in my flat, you know, like am I being racist? Sure, you could. Is that discrimination? Definitely, but it's also based on what I experience, you know, like, and that doesn't mean that every Greek person that I meet is a person who's not going to pay rent. Like it's ridiculous, but in my mind because I had such a negative experience with that one person of that one nationality, it warps you, you know. Sure. Or when I was a kid in England, I used to get the bus home, and it was one of my bus routes. I used to go through a very bad neighborhood, and through a very good neighborhood. So there were private schools here. In the middle, there was like a bad neighborhood where a lot of black people lived, and then at the end was where I lived. And always in the middle, you'd have like, in the bus, you'd have like 5, 6 black guys come into the bus and just rob people. So it was just a thing. So every time I see like a group of black guys, I have a lot of black friends, but I'm still like, the inner child in me is like, but
sure.
It's not being racist. It's just like a measurement of protecting yourself.
Because
you know?
we're collecting information. Our brain collecting information.
So much of it.
Experiences that we have in a daily basis, and then through these experiences we like elaborate should we respond, or how should we like react in a certain like
instinct, basically.
You know, in a certain situation. But the thing is that we never have the complete information about, you know. We have like a small information about what happened in that context, in that time, in that situation. So I sometimes I think that discrimination, I mean, it's just a theory, but discrimination is based on the fact that on the lack of information.
Definitely.
If we will really like get access of like all information that we can get about like culture, about ethnicity, or about like a certain like person, we naturally we cannot be discriminative, because at the end we show up that he is like us.
Yeah, but that takes effort, you know. Like it's easier to discriminate and put them in the little cupboard and say, all right, that person is that.
There is no differences.
Yeah, but it takes effort to ask that person, hey, so let's open up a dialogue, let's talk. Like
this is kind of abstract.
It's not easy, you know. But I hope that we get to that world where it's.
But the fact that the discrimination is based on the limitation of information that we get through our life and
of your own perception of that person.
About your perception, definitely. And so I was reading an article and says that humans are naturally motivated to categorize people and objects, and this is a normal cognitive behavior.
Which I believe as well.
Yeah. And but discrimination goes beyond that. The research shows that the attitude of people who discriminate are reflection of a complex set of factors, including their history, social cultural practices, economic forces, sociological trends, and the influence of a community and family beliefs.
Yeah.
Exactly what we told.
Definitely,
what we have.
So I believe that as well, because we have this core instinct to sort of like stereotype, and then you have all these other aspects: how much you earn, what type of people you hang out with, that influence your, or maybe amplify it.
We are like a computer, but somehow like limited computer, you know, and I mean sometimes I think how can we bypass the fact that we are limited computer, you know, we
by
are
being
human.
aware that you're limited, like just having that thought and knowing that you're stopping yourself from having a carefree life, maybe by putting people in these little cupboards, you know, and saying, all right, you're that, and you're that.
Yeah.
Which is overcoming your own ego and saying, all right, listen, I'm not right. Maybe that person has something to offer that I don't know yet. Just open the cupboard up, and I think it's an ego issue.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who have big egos, they won't be able to stop discriminating. Whereas someone like me, I'm aware of the fact that I'm scared of like 16 to 17-year-old black guys. I know it now, and I can face that fear, and I can realize it's ridiculous. It's stupid. Why? Like just because I had a bad experience as a child doesn't mean that fear is legitimized. You know, like.
And you, by the way, you're not the only one that say that categorize is stupid. Discrimination is stupid. Not categorize, but discrimination, which is like much way beyond the categorized mechanism of humans. And for example, in 2003, scientists completed the Human Genome Project, and making it finally possible to examine human ancestry with genetics. And scientists have since tackled the topics such as human migration out of Africa and around the world. So according to this discovery, race cannot be biologically defined to the genetic variation among human individuals.
Race cannot be biologically defined to the genetic composition of
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
And also population. The concept of 5 races that we had, like Africans, Asian, European, Native American, and Oceania, it's totally outdated.
Definitely.
And according to this view, variation between the races is large, and thus the race is a separate category. So additionally, individual races are thought that to have a relatively uniform genetic identity, but human population do roughly cluster into geographic regions. However, variation within a single region is large, and there is no uniform identity. So it's quite impossible to trace back from an individual to trace back his races. You know, it's like, you know, it's genetically is impossible. Like you know, like because we are so it's so various. The way in which like humanity spread around from Africa to all around the world is a complex phenomena. The way in which like organisms like reproduce and spread around, because human has this like capacity of variation, capacity of create community and connect to other community and to share technologies. So, and this is also why discrimination is genetically not, even in genetically, in biogenetic, is not justified.
Definitely,
but we have to get rid of this.
We have to, but I think as long as there's like a discrepancy of sharing of resources, like I believe that if we lived in a world where everyone had everything they needed and there was like people in Africa had the same amount of food, the same amount of petrol, paid the same amount of price for electricity, there wouldn't be these borders. There wouldn't be this, all right, they're taking from us or we have to give what we have to them. Like I believe if we just distributed our resources more evenly, the world would be a better place. Because I think discrimination is, a lot of it could be based on the fact that, oh, he's going to take something from me. Like I have to protect myself or my values or my kingdom or my community. And but I believe if we remove the protection of resources, like if we don't have the need to protect resources because there are abundance of resources for everyone, discrimination might be resolved. You know, like maybe, hopefully.
So. Yeah, also like by talking about and so making the people aware about this, like human biases, because they are human biases. It's a normal, like a normal response, but not because it's a normal response has to be like amplified so much into like into culture, like stereotype. You know, it's a normal response which I think we have to take ownership. No, and also like evolve, and
we have iPhones, man. We have so much technology. We've gone past our basic needs to rely on our instincts. You know, like we know what we think. We have data. We have psychological analysis of why people discriminate. We're past that. We should be able to get past that because we know what it is. We
have all the information that we can, and so there's no really reason, like except your narrow perception of, you know, like group of like, even that is like very you know, circumstantial. Like in the circumstance, I think we addressed a very interesting topic, you know, and we also got a nice testimony from you, your experience, and
yeah, thanks for giving me a platform.
Thanks for coming.
No worries.
It was so fun, and yeah, I wanted to start this podcast. I don't know if we will like keep going on, but
do it. I liked it. This is my first podcast.
But we have the first with you, and
the first step is always the most difficult.
It's the most difficult. No, we had to improvise some camera here, but some light. And yeah, I mean the first episode I wanted to dedicate to you because you kind of introduce to this topic, and also allows me to this information allows me to get this flat.
I'm happy that my input
because I did the experiment.
Some value. Yeah, good man.
I did the discrimination experiment by myself.
And if you do win some cash from a lawsuit, we're going on holiday, my friend. We're going to Pakistan together. Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care, my friend.
Thank you.
Right.
Let me hug you.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank you, man.
Cut. Oh.